I'm there thinking it's a business interview.
It started that way.
Right. So we sit down and you grill me for what, 3 hours? Easily. On philosophy, politics, religion, culture. Economics. What else? Everything else you can imagine, he grilled me. Anything he talks about on his podcast show, he grilled me on. Pretty much.
Just didn't record it.
And then afterwards, he got finished with his burger and he just sat there and he looked at me and he's like, you know what? I'm not going to hire you. And I was like, that's fine. I don't need this job. I'm doing plenty of other things here in Manhattan. He's like, I'm going to date you. And you want to take it from there?
And you said you were kind of confused.
Of course I was confused.
Now, I was somewhat blunt.
Mm-hmm.
And how'd that make you feel?
Good.
And who's on the opposite side? The female.
What guidance do you have for us?
There's something that's really interesting in nature. They said that a male lion, when they're hunting, the male lion is not the hunter, it's the female. But what the male does is the male comes around this way and does a very loud roar, which scares the prey. Which direction? The opposite direction. And who's on the opposite side? The female. But instead, if the prey knew that while that lion was roaring, to run towards that roar and they wouldn't be eaten because they wouldn't turn around the other way, they'd escape. So if there's any encouragement there, I would just run towards that roar and know that the Lord's got your back.
Erika, do you ever get hate from Charlie's work? How do you handle it? Charlie, do you ever feel guilt, or do you ever deal with guilt when Erika gets hate? No, I don't.
Honestly, this is how I know God made us for each other, because anytime I do get quote unquote hate, it's the same stuff you get. I don't even want to say, it's not even worth saying it or repeating the things that we're called or the names that we're called. But yes, I do. I've lost family members. I've lost friends, but I actually am kind of grateful that that's happened, because God has pruned my life in a way where I am surrounded in a circle now by people who love us, support us, pray with us, encourage us.
Small, mighty circle.
And that's what I would much rather have, a small, mighty circle than a massive one. It's the people that, that you can trust and pour into. And yes, do I get hate? Bring it on.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll have a velvet steel spine by the end of my life. So bring it on. I have nothing to fear.
Who am I?
Stop. Erika Kirk. But she looked crazier in the eyes.
She
was like this.
Stop. It's scarier than that.
Everyone just grieves different.
Oh, right.
That's what they say.
My mom's grief looked like never going on another date, never entertaining any sort of man, anything of the sorts.
Let alone a press run.
Yeah.
The press run's crazy.
But you only know what
fireworks.
You know.
Something went wrong in that room. You can feel it the second you watch the clip back. The pause, the phrasing, the way the answer keeps moving but never actually lands anywhere. And if you blink, you might miss it entirely. But once you notice it, it sticks in your head. Because this wasn't just a moment of nerves or grief. This was someone choosing their words with care in a situation where clarity was expected. And whatever that choice was, it clearly wasn't what JD Vance anticipated. At first, most people brushed it off. Another interview, another political dodge, nothing to see here. But then the clip began circulating, being replayed over and over. And that's when the questions started. Why didn't she just say yes? Why pivot so hard? Why did the energy feel so tense in that moment? And more importantly, why did that answer immediately reshape the conversation about both of them? What followed was far from normal political discourse. It became something entirely different. Let's rewind. This takes place at the Dealbook Summit. Erika Kirk is on stage, calm, composed, speaking comfortably in a space she likely wouldn't have been in just a year prior. Then, the interviewer asks a question that seems simple on the surface but carries enormous weight. Is JD Vance the person you plan to support for president in 2028? Normally, this would be straightforward. If you're aligned, you say yes. If you want to soften it, you add a compliment. If you want to play it safe, You say something polite and move on. But that's not what happened. Erika paused. She spoke about JD as a person, mentioned her husband, referenced the past, talked about appreciation, attention spans, and living in the moment. Her answer kept going, but the endorsement never came. To a casual viewer, it might have gone unnoticed, but if you were watching closely, it felt deliberate. In politics, dodging forward-looking questions isn't accidental. It signals that future options are being preserved. And from that moment on, people began asking whether this was more than a political sidestep. Why does this matter? JD Vance isn't just a name in the political arena. He's the sitting vice president and, for many, the assumed future of the movement. Most expected Erika Kirk to be a lockstep supporter, public, private, immediately. When that didn't happen, reactions weren't just confusion, suspicion took hold, and this moment didn't appear in isolation. For months, observers had quietly noticed something else. Erika Kirk hadn't faded from public attention. She had accelerated into it. Fox News appearances, high-profile speaking roles, fundraisers that weren't symbolic but substantial, all pointing to someone being tested in real time. This wasn't how people are treated if they're supposed to remain in the background. Patterns like these matter in politics because that's where speculation begins. Then came the turning point. A video that instantly went viral. JD Vance walking out, Erika stepping toward him, and then the hug. It lingered longer than expected, felt more personal than expected, enough that people noticed, enough that the internet exploded. Suddenly, body language wasn't just body language. Meaning was being projected. Was it grief? Solidarity? Something else entirely? And Erika didn't let the moment fade. She broke it down publicly, step by step. Whether her explanation was genuine or rehearsed didn't matter. The moment remained alive online. And once that happens, theories multiply. Stack that hug on top of her dealbook answer, and suddenly it feels like a pattern rather than isolated moments. Patterns are speculation's home. And then there's JD Vance, a calculated political operator, someone who understands optics, messaging, and coalition discipline. Imagine seeing someone closely associated with your political circle, with emotional influence and growing visibility, asked about their support for your future run. And they don't commit. They don't attack you. They don't reject you. They just leave it open. That's loud enough. In political circles, ambiguity triggers strategy meetings, quiet frustration, and phone calls. Suddenly, the public conversation shifts. People aren't just talking about JD Vance 2028 anymore. They're asking, what is Erika Kirk doing? And that's when attention spiraled. Observers began dissecting everything. Why was she being treated like a political figure? Why were interviewers asking her future-facing questions? Why was she hosting events that looked like donor cultivation? Her tone shifted, more assertive, more authoritative, less deferential. None of it proved a campaign, but it fueled speculation. Then came another layer. Erika began publicly taking harder stances, especially on people questioning official narratives. Her language sharpened, less patient, more moralistic. She framed criticism as unhealthy, a mind virus that needed to stop. The reaction caught attention. Grief rarely looks like this politically. Ambitious, highly visible, and assertive, suddenly people were split. Some saw a grieving widow finding her voice. Others saw someone stepping quickly into leadership. And the contrast only deepened the intrigue. Let's return to that original unanswered question. Erika Kirk could have ended speculation immediately. She didn't. And that's why the dealbook moment continues to haunt political observers. In politics, silence often speaks louder than any public declaration. JD Vance wasn't just losing an endorsement, he was losing certainty. Certainty matters. Donors dislike ambiguity, strategists dislike wildcards, party insiders dislike variables they can't control. And Erika Kirk, in this scenario, became a variable, a disruption. Unpredictability can be more threatening than opposition, and that's where she represents real influence. Look closer at Erika's posture in subsequent interviews. She no longer speaks as someone adjacent to the movement. She speaks as someone within it, with authority to define what is acceptable and unacceptable, especially when it comes to criticism. Her language shifted from empathetic to declarative, personal to prescriptive. She doesn't say, "This hurts me." She says, "This is wrong." It's a subtle but critical shift. Once someone tells the public how to behave, what conversations are allowed, and how to interpret events, they've stepped into leadership, whether formally announced or not. That's why the story keeps gaining traction. Facts don't yet matter, vibes do, and early-stage political narratives thrive on perception and momentum. Here's an overlooked point. Erika Kirk doesn't need to run for president to disrupt the political landscape. Just the possibility reshapes conversations. Loyalty softens, narratives split, scenarios form. All dangerous for someone like JD Vance, whose strategy depends on a clean, uncontested path forward. Observers notice every interview, every public appearance, every subtle posture. Unpredictability forces recalibration. Political runs today don't start with announcements. They start with conditioning. The public learns to see, hear, and take someone seriously. Erika Kirk is conditioning attention, whether by design or circumstance. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Erika Kirk represents emotional continuity, legacy, and unity around tragedy. JD Vance represents structure, strategy, and institutional power. Those forces don't always coexist peacefully. And the dealbook moment, the pause, the pivot, the hug, became the pivot point of speculation. Even if nothing comes of it, the conversation has shifted. Momentum is no longer predictable. Every interaction is reinterpreted. Every word is scrutinized. Every appearance becomes political positioning. That's the new reality. The unanswered dealbook question, combined with the viral hug and subsequent media activity, also illustrates the subtle mechanics of influence in politics. One moment can signal more than multiple speeches. One pause can unsettle even the most disciplined political operators. Observers, analysts, and even casual viewers begin filling gaps with narrative assumptions. Political certainty depends not just on actions, but on perception. And in this case, perception is shifting rapidly. Erika Kirk has moved from background figure to a pivot of attention and speculation. In doing so, she's changed the stakes without issuing a formal statement or campaign launch. The broader impact is significant. Movement insiders now face a dual dynamic: the emotional resonance Erika carries versus the strategic authority JD Vance commands. Their coexistence is tenuous. Even supporters of JD Vance must acknowledge the new element in play: unpredictability. Moments like these ripple outward, influencing donor confidence, media framing, and public expectation. Uncertainty multiplies when someone steps into a space that hasn't been formally theirs, yet commands attention as if they already belong. It's an unusual but highly effective form of influence. At the heart of this story is a lesson about political perception. Silence can amplify influence. Ambiguity can create speculation. A carefully crafted answer, a long hug, and consistent media presence can shift momentum without a single formal declaration. That's why Erika Kirk's actions, deliberate or not, matter. And it's why observers continue replaying the Dealbook Summit moment, analyzing each word, glance, and movement. The moment feels unfinished, and that feeling is powerful. It drives discussion, theory, and curiosity in a way official statements rarely do. To put it bluntly, whether Erika Kirk runs for president in 2028 or not, she has already changed the narrative. Conversations that were once straightforward now carry subtext. Political operators must account for variables they can't fully control. Supporters reassess loyalties. The media frames every move as potentially significant. And public perception, the ultimate arbiter in politics, is already adapting. Uncertainty, unpredictability, and presence have become tools as effective as endorsements or formal campaigns. The story is still unfolding. Erika Kirk continues to appear in public, speak at high-profile events, and take a firm stance on issues she deems critical. Every appearance reinforces her visibility and authority. Observers can't ignore her, analysts can't dismiss her, and the internet certainly hasn't stopped speculating. This is how modern political narratives evolve, through patterns, visibility, and subtle signaling, rather than just formal announcements. Erika Kirk's rise, whether intentional or incidental, demonstrates how perception can rival policy in shaping political landscapes. Ultimately, the Dealbook Summit moment, the viral hug, and Erika Kirk's ongoing media presence illustrate the unpredictable nature of influence. Political power isn't just about position. It's about attention, momentum, and interpretation. JD Vance may still have the formal authority and assumed future, but the emergence of a figure like Erika Kirk demonstrates that certainty is fragile. Unfinished moments, subtle shifts in language, and deliberate visibility can tilt perception. And in politics, perception can be as decisive as action. So what do we take from this story? Moments matter, words matter, pauses matter. Silence can speak louder than endorsement, and unpredictability can disrupt even the most carefully laid plans. Erika Kirk hasn't announced a campaign. She may never run, but in shaping the conversation, commanding attention, and shifting the dynamics around JD Vance and the broader movement, she has already made an impact that cannot be ignored. And that's the real lesson. In politics, the story isn't only in what's said or done. It's in what's left hanging, in what's carefully chosen, and in what the public is left to interpret. Whether this turns into a formal campaign or fades into background speculation, one thing is clear. The Dealbook moment changed the conversation. The viral hug became a symbol. The unanswered question became a signal. And Erika Kirk, intentionally or not, became a variable that redefined attention, authority, and momentum. Politics is about dynamics, and unpredictability is its secret weapon. In this case, Erika Kirk is wielding it quietly, effectively, and unmistakably. And as we watch, analyze, and speculate, one truth remains. Even silence, carefully measured, can resonate louder than the loudest declaration.